There we go. So how to set up an iPhone. So the first thing we start with always is our disclaimer. The information contained in this class is, not necessarily up to date. We try to keep it up to date, but just be aware that anytime you use this stuff, your mileage may vary. Your system's probably going to be different. Your environment, how you use it, all of that stuff matters. All right. So just be aware. The class is being recorded, so if you're online and you don't want your face recorded, please turn off your camera or cover it, however you manage that. All right. So here's what we're going to cover. We're going to talk about backing up an iPhone. Then we're talking about erasing or initializing a new phone. Erase an old phone, initialize a new one. We're just going to touch on that because we've already gone over that a few weeks ago on the new iPhones and what to do to get started. The restore from backup is kind of embedded in that. Then we're going to talk about verifying the wallet and all those things that come from your backup. You have to reinitialize them. And then we'll go through a bunch of customizing settings, okay? So hopefully we can keep the first part rather quick. All right. So how do we back up an iPhone? So you just basically go into your settings app, and here are the steps. If you go into the settings app, it looks like this on the screen. Here's the icon. On my phone, it's down here. And then once you get into settings, you go into the very top one where your name is, which will take you into iCloud and your Apple ID. So once you're in your Apple ID screen, you click iCloud. And then once you're in the iCloud screen, you go down here and you click backup. I'm sorry, show all. Is that right? Yes, I'm sorry. I'm just got the part. I'm thinking of backup already, and we're just making sure everything's in the cloud first. I messed that one up, folks. Let me just start all over on this. We're not backing up yet. We're preparing the phone to be backed up, okay? So the first step we're going to do is make sure everything is in iCloud. So we're going, again, to our settings, then we're going to iCloud, then we're going to show all. And whenever I have this arrow here, it means that we can scroll up, all right? And everything over here I recommend to be on, all right? And there's going to be a lot, if you have a lot of apps, there's going to be a lot of screens with a lot of switches to turn on. Usually they are on automatically, okay? If all of these are green and they're on, that means they're already being synchronized with iCloud. So that means that when you start a backup, it doesn't have to do it again. It's already synchronized, all right? So all of the extra information will already be up there. So that's why we do that first. It's also really critical that when you do this, you're connected to a good Wi-Fi connection. All right. If you don't have good Wi-Fi, this does not go very well because it'll just be really, really slow. Okay, so now let's go and we're going to back up our phone. So it's the same procedure where we're going to go to settings, and I'll shortcut this later on, but it's just looking for that icon that goes into settings. Once we're in settings, again, going to our Apple ID, once again into iCloud, and then once we're in iCloud, we're going to go the next area down into iCloud backup. And then once we're on the iCloud backup screen, you want to back up this phone. You make sure that one's on, and then back up now. Just click that, and it'll just start backing up the phone. All right, and then this is what your screen should look like. Oops, right over here. Once it's starting to back up, it'll say, you can click here to cancel backup, and it's telling you the progress, backing up. And what does it say? Every estimating time remaining. All right. Usually it takes, if you already had everything turned on in green in the previous step that we did, this usually takes about 5 minutes. All right. If you didn't have all those green, it might take 10, 15 minutes. It really depends. I always have my automatic backup on, and typically whenever I'm on Wi-Fi, once an hour, it'll update the backup, okay? So it's really nice to just leave that on whenever you're connected. So whenever you're connected to Wi-Fi, it just goes.
And how do you check how much iCloud you're registered for?
You'll actually have to go into your iCloud here and then managing storage. When you're in this area, you manage your account storage, this area, the step here, and then that will take you and show you how much you have, how much you've used. And then if you're all full, it'll also allow you to buy some more. And this is one of the things that I'll warn everybody is that once you start depending on iCloud, you're going to fill it up fast because the size of the free iCloud is too small. It's part of their business model. I hate to say it, but it's like they're drug dealers. They give you the dime bag for free, then they get you hooked, and now they're going to charge you for the crazy stuff. So I don't really care for the business model. Yes, Diana.
Yeah, I have a home that was not turned on. What is the home for a backup?
Home button?
Yeah, it was
if on the previous screen?
Yeah, yeah, it's on your screen too, I think.
Oh, it is. I see what you're saying. This one here.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's for
Yeah.
smart home stuff. If you don't know what it is, in other words, you've never used smart home things, turning it on is not going to have any effect. In other words, you're not using it, so there's nothing to really store. Okay.
So I have a Alexa. That doesn't matter, right?
No, Alexa is not in Apple's smart home.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Okay, so now we got the phones all backed up. Let's talk about erasing or initializing an iPhone. I really wanted to just touch on this because the new operating system has just come out. Every year Apple comes out with one. I do not recommend updating to the new operating system yet. I've been using it for 2 weeks now, and it's buggy. Okay. And the sister version that's on the Mac is really buggy. So do not update yet. All right. There's a lot of things that they need to fix. It'll probably be ready for prime time around February or March. All right. It usually takes that long when they get to version 3 of their updates. So if you're comfortable with things crashing sometimes and just having to restart, you can play with it. If you really have to depend on your phone working all the time, do not update. Liz, you have your hand raised. What's up?
I just wanted to clarify, do you mean update or upgrade?
Upgrade, I'm sorry.
Okay.
That's a good point. So don't upgrade to, what is it, iOS 17? Is that where we're on? Yes, don't do that yet.
Okay.
iOS and Mac OS Sonoma is just ridiculously bad. So please don't do that yet. Yeah, I'm having to find, there's certain applications I go in, and now since I've updated to Sonoma on my Mac, I have to click them 3 times to make something happen. I'm like, what the heck is this? So yeah, it's not fun. So as far as erasing your old iPhone, like I said, please, do this with help. Do not do this by yourself unless you really feel comfortable with the expertise. You have a good backup. You've done these procedures before. Otherwise, please get me or Yvette here at Eschaton to help, or you can call us online, however we want to do it, to just get some help. All right. The way we go, it's in your settings. You go to the general tab, go all the way to the bottom, and it's about preparing your iPhone for recycling. Okay. You go into that area and you can erase the whole thing. But I recommend not doing this unless you have help. Okay. Now, when we have a new phone, there's the initialization procedure. When you first turn it on, it's going to walk you through hello and just making the phone for you. These are what those screens look like. It'll say hello screen. Once you swipe up to begin, then it'll ask you what language you want to do. A lot of times, since we're here in America, they'll already have these. They'll already say English, and it'll already say United States, and it'll take you to the next step. But if you've just erased a phone, this is what it's going to look like to reinitialize it. Okay, English, then United States. And then we'll have the quick start. I'm not going to go over the one because I've already done it in a previous class where you put the 2 phones together if you're updating to a new one and they talk to each other, and I'm not going to go over that. I just want to go over the manual method that you can use for restoring one to your old phone. And we'll touch on this again in February or March when we're going to upgrade to the new operating system. Okay. But we'll just set up manually. Then we have to choose a Wi-Fi. This is my Wi-Fi at home. And then come over here, we have to enter the Wi-Fi's password and then say join, okay? And that's weird. Then next on the Wi-Fi, okay, once it's joined, you'll get a little check mark and you can hit next. And then it'll say, it's gonna take a moment to initialize the phone. What this is Apple's security, all right? It's gonna check all of the serial numbers, the IMEI number, which is the unique number it communicates to cell towers with. It'll check all of that, make sure that it's not a stolen phone, and then it'll initialize the phone. It takes like 30 seconds. And then it'll ask you about your data and privacy, or just tell you about it, and you hit continue. There's a lot to read here if you want. It's, bottom line, I think Apple's doing the best at protecting our privacy of all the larger companies. And then continuing to set up, we're going to do the security things. It'll ask you, do you want to do your Face ID? You can set it up later or continue. I recommend doing it now. And then once you're in here, you'll create a passcode for the new phone or the reinitialized phone. And then a lot of us use 4-digit numbers. The way you get to that is you click this passcode options, and then you say 4-digit numeric PIN, okay? Then once you enter that, it's gonna say, okay, create your new passcode. Once you put in all the dots, it'll just say, okay, next, and you'll have your new passcode, all right? And then it should allow us to go in and do our Face ID and stuff too, okay? So it'll first make you do a passcode, and then it'll make you do the Face ID things. So now that we're here, we're going to go to restore from a backup. And again, this is either for a new phone, because we remember we backed up our phone to start, so we now have a backup of our old phone. Or if we're just updating our old phone from scratch, then here's how we get to the backup. And then we just go into apps and data. We're going to restore the iCloud backup. And we're going to put in our Apple ID and then our Apple ID password. And then it'll say, hey, we're trying to verify you. Can you get a code? And the code sometimes comes directly to your device, or if you have another device, you can use that. All right. This is where I think Apple does a really good job, is if we're using multiple devices. Sometimes I don't like how they give the code on the same device. It's like, well, hold it. Then why? How did you get that, right? But it does make sense because they do have a channel through us through the Wi-Fi. Then we have to, agree to give our firstborn and all that kind of stuff, terms and conditions. And that's when this one does take a few minutes usually. After it gets going, it's asked to do all of the setup in the background, because it's basically saying, oh, you're either identified with this account or we're creating your account, right? So all of that happens. And then once we're here, we're going to there's going to show us the backup that we can choose, and then continue. And make this your new iPhone. It's really funny they come up with that one. Okay, once we have the phone all initialized, we come from a backup and it's all running. The next thing it's going to do is say, hey, these are your previous cards. I blanked them out because I don't want everybody seeing my cards. But you just go through and it's going to say, okay, for every single one now, you're going to have to put in the little 3-digit code for the card and then agree to the terms that your bank has. All right. So every single card is going to walk you through that again. And then it'll say, hey, do you want to set up Apple Cash? I typically do. And then restore from iCloud. And it just starts restoring it. And it'll bring in all of your cards and everything too. All right. Okay, here's where I wanted to spend the most of the time. Let's customize the phone for how we like to use it now. So the first one, I notice a lot of people, I'd say it's about 50-50 of the people I work with. Half of them have done this and half of them haven't. So I really recommend we do this. So the first thing we're going to create is a personal contact. So we're going to go into our contact manager. That's this icon over here. And once we're in the contact manager, we're going to add our own contact. So we're going to say plus. Now, if you already have it, that's fine. Okay, but if you haven't created your own information in the contact, please do. And then once we do that, here's what it looks like. We're going to say plus, and then it's going to be our name, right? So You put in your first name, your last name, your phone number, your email, your address. I recommend putting in your birth date. All right. So all of that information is in there for your personal one. Now, here's the reason why that's important. You have a question?
No, that's what I was going to ask. Sorry.
Okay. The reason why this is so important is now we can assign this contact as our information. In other words, a lot of the things that iCloud uses is dependent on our information and handing off our information to different apps. It's going to use this personal contact to do that, okay? This really comes up when we're signing into or agreeing to new services that we want online. So we create a new account, new password. iCloud and the security system can actually automatically fill in a lot of those fields for us. And this is where it gets it, is from our own personal contact, all right? So in here, we'll go into the settings app again. And once we're in the settings, on the first page, scroll up until you get to, I think, the fourth section down. So it's after App Store and Wallet, you get passwords and mail and contacts. So you're going to click contacts. And then you're going to click on the next one in contacts. You're going to click my info. And then finally, from there, you can get into, it'll say, hey, it'll bring up all your contact list, and you go and you find yourself in the list. If you've already done this, then it'll have your name and it'll have the me next to it. Okay. If you haven't done it, it won't have the me next to it. Okay. Bob, you have a question? There's a...
That little caricature where the face, on the very top left there.
Yeah, this one.
Where is that?
So that is on your home screen on the Mac. I'm sorry, on the phone. And then so you press that icon and it brings you into your contacts.
So Veda, I can't get to my I can't get to myself on contact, so I don't understand.
Okay, let's on the very first step on the contacts.
Yeah, I don't see that.
So I have an account. I have
Okay.
a, but shall I just find it somehow?
But do you have a contact card set up for you?
Yes.
Okay, so the way, well, let's verify that in a moment here, because the best way to do that, we can start back here at the in the contact database. So Barbara, if you open your contacts, it
Okay.
should go all the way, scroll, push the screen down or whatever until you get all the way to the top. And then
Yeah.
if you push it down again, your contact should be at the top. See how mine is here?
On my Mac.
Actually, this works on Mac and on the iPhone.
Oh, so I'm on my computer, so I got to get.
Oh yeah, this is all iPhone.
I know. So somehow I'm looking at your screen and then okay. So I'm going to contacts on my iPhone.
Correct. And
Now
then if
what
you go to the top of your contacts list,
Yeah.
at the A's, if you push it down further, then your name should be at the top. So see, here's the A's in my list, and my name is at the top. Whoops.
Well, Veda, what happens if my name is not on the top? Somebody else's name.
Well, now we want to make sure that we have a name for ourselves. Okay, so have you ever made one, or are you sure you have one?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay, so Flora, I just go and look down here on the right-hand side, click the W's, and then make sure that your name, Flora Wu, is in there.
Okay.
That caricature.
In iCloud. iCloud.
So let's
I
see.
don't even see iCloud.
In the W.
Where was it?
I don't know. I'm not sure. It was on one of the screens. I just went and did a. Okay, so if you look, your My Card is set at the very top. So you have one already.
Oh,
So mine is at the top.
Yep.
Hers is not, right?
Okay, so she has not, either she doesn't have a contact or she hasn't assigned it yet. So
Oh, I have the contact, but how do I assign it to
okay,
that?
that'll be the next step here on the right-hand side. Okay. So if we have a contact, but it doesn't have your little me next to it, and it did not appear at the top of your contact list, now let's go into settings. That's with this icon here. So from your home screen, hit the settings icon and scroll down until you get to contacts. Open the contacts screen, a settings screen, and then scroll down to where it says My Info. And this is where you assign it your contact, because as soon as you click that My Info, it's going to bring up your contact list over here from iCloud, and you can find your name and select it.
Oh,
And Barbara, if you do it on your phone or on your Mac, it'll work. It'll automatically, synchronize this with the cloud, and it'll happen for all of your devices.
okay.
Okay, so I just go look for myself again after I go to my info.
Correct. So on the right-hand side, go and look for yourself and then select it.
And where is it that we put
Or-
in, say, that sort of stuff?
Okay, that's back here in this step. If you don't have a contact for yourself, then you're going to add a contact and create one for yourself back here in contacts.
Okay, but you said I did have it,
Yeah, you have it.
but I didn't see my birth date or anything on it.
Oh, you can just edit it if you want. So if we find your name, find your contact. There you go. Oops.
Okay, and that's all I have to do. Okay.
Yep. And then once you click that, then you'll see that it shows up now in your My Info. Your name will show up. Why is it doing-
Okay. I clicked on my info, got my name. When I went over there, it brings me to iCloud. And what it shows is plus add a new contact, and then it shows all of the people in my contact list, but it doesn't show my name like yours.
Okay. So does your name show up at all in your contact list?
Yes, mine does.
How about
Yes,
you, Betty?
yes,
Okay, if your name shows up here, then you simply press, once you're in this step over here in the settings and contact settings,
uh-huh.
go to My Info, find your name, and then simply select it. Just click it.
So I can't find my info.
So
It
you have to be
says
in the
me,
settings
of
app.
course. Got it. Right.
Okay, and then once you select it, it should take you back to the contact screen, and you'll see your name and My Info. See what I mean? About half of us did this and half of us didn't,
Yeah.
right?
Right. And then I have just what you have, my name with the ME next to it.
Yep. That's exactly what you want.
Oh, my God.
I don't-
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
so
I don't
So
see
this
it.
is where Apple gets the information to automatically fill things for you, like if you have to sign up for a new service or whatever. It's also if you want to send your contact to somebody, this is how they get it. So this is, oh, I want to send me to it, and you can share it. Okay.
How come I have two my info? I have my husband's name and me, but at the me is next to my name, but he's in the.
Oh my God.
You have
Did I
two
do?
selected for My Info?
Yes, I did. I don't know how I happened to do that. How did I get rid of him?
I don't know how to do that. I've never heard that one before. I'll have to
Okay.
experiment on that one, Flora. Sorry.
Okay, but I finally got me in it, so that's
Yeah.
good. That's a good step. Thank you.
You're welcome. Diana, you had a question?
Well, if you put your birthday and other vital information in there, is that pretty safe?
But I want to
So
know.
it's safe between you and Apple, okay? And you have to
Okay.
explicitly share it, like share your contact with something, okay? So it will not just automatically give it to somebody unless you explicitly go about that step. All right.
So if someone wants my contact information and I want to send them my phone number and address, will it also send my birthday if I send the me or whatever?
Typically not, but it is possible to set it that way. Okay, so that's another step we'd have to go through. I'm not really, that's not in today's class. But one thing I've done, Diana, if you're concerned about that, is notice I have two contacts, Veda W
Ah.
Dean and Veda Dean. Okay, so in the Veda Dean one, which is me, I have the minimal information. I do not have my sensitive information in there.
Oh,
So if
thanks.
you feel something is sensitive, put it in like the one that's got your middle name in it, right? But then for the one you select for me, just create a different contact like this, your first name, last name, and then you can use that one with stripped down information.
Thanks.
Okay. So that's something I've done because I put a lot in my contact database because I like it to be there, like my library card number, all these things that are, where am I going to put this and find it again? But I don't want to share that information. So it's in Veda W Dean, not in Veda Dean. Okay. I know I threw a lot at you guys. Liz, you got a question?
I had a similar question in regards to birth date.
Yeah.
Should it be is it important for it to be our actual date, or could it be a different date? And what if we're using different dates for different applications?
Right. And this is another thing I do, Liz, is that when I'm signing up for something like, let's say, Safeway Rewards, I don't give them my actual birth date. Okay. My birthday's in December, right? So I actually say my birthday is, January 1 of the following year, right?
Right.
So that's just for me. Now, if in the contact data, my contact database, so I do put my actual contact info, my actual birth date. The reason for that is I do sign up for some services that are more secure, like my banking and things like that. And I use the information in my contact to help autofill that. All right.
Okay, if for some reason the birthday that you're using is not the actual birth date and that it autofills, say, banking information, can you go in there and change it, or is it locked in?
You can go in and change it on either on the sign up form that you're using or, on your contact, either one.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. I find my spouse listed as parent, now deceased.
Right.
But I don't see how to remove that.
From your contact or?
No.
Oh, if you go into your contacts rather than the settings, then you can.
I'm in contact.
Okay, then click her name. And then go all the way to the bottom. If you edit her name and go all the way to the bottom, I'm sorry, hit edit first, the top right, once you get into her contact. Uh-oh. You can't open her contact? Okay, but the way you can delete a contact is you go into your contact, program, the app on the left here. You find the contact that you want. You open it, hit edit, and go all the way to the bottom. You can say remove contact. Okay. These are great questions.
So at the bottom of my contacts, my name, it says add to list, link contacts. Is that what you're talking about? Add to list?
So that's actually something different.
Okay.
So for example, if you look at if you're at your very first page of your what do you call it? Your contact form, you'll see this thing up here called lists. If you go back to that, it'll have like your iCloud list, which is all your contacts in iCloud. But you can make custom lists under that. Like I have my Anu Vista list. So everybody that's on or in Anu Vista is in that list. I have my Anu Vista board members list, right? So all of those things I use custom lists for because sometimes I like to send an email and I just type the list name and everybody's there. Okay.
So then
Okay.
you have to go to contact list and put in that they are in that, like I have a bridge list, then you have to add them as notes, is that where you put it?
Actually, I put it here in my contact database.
Yeah.
I go back and I create a list like bridge members or bridge team, whatever, right? And then I go to each contact and I add them to that list.
How do you add them to the list? What do you-
So when you go into the contact, you open the contact and you go all the way to the bottom and click add to a list. Okay. You can also, if you're on the, that's how we have to do it on the phone. If you're on a Mac, it's easier because you can put them side by side and just drag them in. Okay. Okay, the next one I do is I set my emergency contacts. All right. The emergency contact is available on your home, on your lock screen. So let's say, we passed out, we were in an accident, whatever that is. And I do this, I ride motorcycles. So if I have an accident, I'm not conscious, I want somebody to be able to open my phone and get my emergency information. Okay. So part of that is the emergency contacts. And the way we set that up is we go into settings, we scroll down to the health area. Then we go in, once we're in the health area of settings, we go to the medical ID, which will come over here to this screen, medical ID. Then we hit edit. And then here we can add contacts. So you have to scroll up a little bit or, move the screen up, scroll down, whatever you want, how you want to look at that. And then once we've done that, we can then add emergency contacts. You hit the little plus sign here and you can add different people in your contact database here. So I've added my spouse, my brother, my son, and my mother. Okay.
Same thing. I'm in edit.
Okay.
Emergency contacts. I want to eliminate my spouse.
Yes.
And there's the red circle with a.
Yeah. So the red circle, if you hit that little minus sign, it'll delete it. And it should come up with a confirmation.
Got it.
Okay.
You hit health, you should have a medical ID available.
Yes, it should say medical ID is one of the options here. You might have to scroll to it. It's down below.
What does that mean, medical ID?
So you actually can set up a medical ID that tells your blood type, your height, your weight, your skin type, all of these things. And it works with the health app in, that we're, in, what do you call it, in Apple, so that all of these things can work together. Like, I set things like, what was I doing recently? Oh, just all of my blood pressure stuff. I have a blood pressure cuff. I have high blood pressure, so I've been, trying to determine the level of medication I should take now until I get my butt back in shape. And doing that, I'm using the health app to help. So my blood pressure, I'm recording there and everything, and I just send that to my doctor. So it's really nice.
Is there a way to add insurance information on Kaiser? Membership number?
I'm not sure. I'd have to look at that. I know I've got my Kaiser information in my wallet. I don't know if I have it in the medical ID thing. I'm not sure.
I kind of think it kind of brings everything up. I've got my history in here.
Yeah, it does, right? It's got a whole bunch of stuff in the medical thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how do you add stuff to the medical ID?
Okay, this one is strictly focused on adding an emergency contact.
Okay.
The medical ID gets us into a whole bunch of things in medical ID and the health app that's way beyond this course. We don't have time today. Okay.
If you go to health and there is no medical ID, there should be.
There should be. So if you're in the health area, go scroll down below location, Siri search, and then get in the next area there. And this should be the second thing.
Oh. Yeah. In the relationship list,
Yes.
there is doctor.
All the way down.
Oh, okay. And they can tell the doctor's contact. Okay.
Way down. Here's general. You were mentioning emergency access and that's enabled.
Yes. Oh, I thank you for saying that. So if you look on the very final screen here on the medical ID, after I added my emergency contacts, I said I want to show when locked. In other words, somebody can do the, I think you have to squeeze the top two buttons, the top volume button and the power button at the same time in the lock screen. And it'll allow you to either make an emergency call or get into emergency contacts. And so that allows that. And then, so both of these should be green. Okay. Thanks, Bev. Liz, go ahead.
I'm unclear. Does this mean that anybody can take our phone and without the password actually access our data?
They can access your emergency contact, not the rest of the medical stuff, just the things that are on your medical ID.
Okay, so if we don't want them to have our birth date, we shouldn't put that in.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Here, under my emergency contacts, I've got here listed Eschaton dining services.
I don't think you really want that one. I would remove that one.
So do I just touch it and say I can delete?
You first have to go, if it has the, all right, let's see here. So your emergency contacts, let's touch this. Oops. I'm sorry, edit. And then we can go into, where's the emergency contact down here? And for some reason it has a friend, but the Eschaton one was there. So let's go in, should be able to get rid of it.
Maybe it likes my finger better than yours.
There it goes. And then delete. And then you can add a different one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Get more help.
Okay. Let's go to the next one. All right. So a lot of us like to have our screen look larger. So there's two things that we need to do for this. All right. So the first one is display zoom. And this makes the icons larger. All right. And we'll handle the text in the next one. So we're going to go back into settings. We're going to scroll down until we get to display and brightness. Once we're down in display and the brightness screen, we're going to scroll down to this one until we see just the things here. You got light, dark, and you can go all the way down to display zoom. Okay. It's usually toward like the middle, bottom third or whatever, or maybe the very bottom. Then once we click display zoom, you can see default, which has your little message bubbles are smaller, your icons are smaller, or you can just say larger text on the left-hand side, which I don't like the way they label this because this isn't making our text necessarily larger yet. Makes them incrementally larger because we're making everything larger on the screen. So I don't like the way it's labeled, but this is the way we get all of these icons to be bigger. Okay. Make sense? All right, the next one we're going to do is we're going to increase the font size. This one, I love what they've done in iOS 17. I think this is new here. If it's in iOS 16, please let me know. So the way we're going to go into this is we're going to go again into settings, but we're going to scroll down to accessibility. Accessibility has a ton of things to adapt the phone to our vision, our hearing. If we have shaky hands, there's other things it'll do. It's really nice, a lot of the things they have in there. Be careful, some of the stuff that we play with them, we can kind of get stuck, like it can get stuck in a voice prompt only mode. That one's weird, okay? So then we're going to go over here once we're in accessibility to display and text size. Then once we're in display and text size, we're going to go to larger font. Once we're in larger font, I suggest turning on the larger accessibility font. This gives you access to the largest fonts, and it also makes the screen redraw in a way that it doesn't hide all the buttons. In the older versions of the software, without this, we could make the text really large, but then we couldn't get to buttons sometimes because it wouldn't, redraw the screen properly. So now with this option turned on, we can get to even larger text, and you can see how it turned this screen, larger accessibility font, into this screen. Okay. And that's all by sliding the little slider down here. If you turn the slider all the way to the far right, it'll give you the largest size. And you can slide it left to get the smallest size. Does that make sense? So the 2 steps to get our larger screen or larger, icons and text is first display zoom, turning that one on, and then adjusting the font size to where it's visible for us. How many people are already using this? Yeah, okay, good. I actually use this. I set mine a little bit larger than default because it's easier for me to read.
A little bit larger. I'm having a hard time reading those little things you circle.
Unfortunately, I can't on this one. So I have to make room for the screen and for the text on the bottom. Which one can't you read?
The second one, display and what?
Okay, so display and font size.
It says text size.
Oh, display and text size. I'm sorry, display and text size. You guys are right. See, I can't see it. And I got to get down real close.
But back on Zoom, do I want that on or off?
So would you prefer it to be bigger on your screen? Then I'd turn it on.
Is there a disadvantage to having a larger font size?
So you can't have as much on the screen. Okay. So it takes up more screen. But the way they've done it with accessibility now, with turning the first one up top, larger accessibility fonts or larger accessibility size, they've really done a better job of repainting the screen so it keeps controls there. I help a lot of people on iPhone and iPad, and we try to make these as big as possible, but then it was obscuring all the controls like an email and stuff. This fixes that.
I don't see accessibility.
Okay, so if you go to the very first setting part, and let's see here, where is the accessibility?
Oh, there it is. Thank you.
I know, they don't have it in alphabetical order. So a lot of times if I can't find something, I just pull all the settings screen, pull it all the way to the bottom, and a little search screen comes up at the top, and I type in what I'm looking for.
Do you lose whatever, I mean, in that last one there, the larger accessibility sizes, do you just lose whatever would have been on the screen if it were the normal size text? Or
Yeah, you can,
swipe and go on?
yeah, you have to really swipe to see everything then. You have to do a lot more work if your screen and if your text size is taking up all the screen, you have to go through a lot of screens to read everything. So there's a big trade-off there. So I try to do, the smallest size that's comfortable for me to read. If I can't just glance at it and read it, it's not big enough, right? So I go to the smallest one that I can just glance and read. Okay. That's funny. My distance vision is still excellent. My close vision is starting to go away. I use reading glasses a lot.
I turned on the zoom control and I don't like it at all. I can't now get rid of it.
So on the zoom control, so you should be able to go back and for the zoom, let's see here. Actually, in display zoom, it's different. It's in the display and brightness.
Oh, yeah.
The font, the text size is in accessibility, which is weird, right? Why don't you put these in the same place? Okay. All right, so now let's talk about our ringer volume. All right. The first thing I've noticed is some people don't realize there's a switch on the side of our phone that can turn our ringer off. All right. So no matter how loud you have it set, you're never going to hear it because it's off. I actually love this function. If I go into meetings, if I go into a theater, if I go into a play, a concert, whatever, I can just reach in my phone, reach my pocket, grab my phone without looking at it, find the button and flip it off. I just turn off the volume. That's the way I'm not disturbing anybody. It's really nice. I don't have to, on the Android phones, they typically don't have physical switches. You actually have to go into the software and say mute, you turn off the sounds. I love having a physical switch for turning it off. And you can tell the difference if it's clicked up toward the screen, it looks gray. If it's clicked down away from the screen, it has a little orange section that'll show up. And the orange section means that it's all silent. Okay. Yes, Barbara?
This is gonna be a stupid question, but I didn't know there was any other way to turn off the sound.
You can actually do it in software too. You can actually go in and do the settings. You can turn your volume all the way down on the ringer. Okay. Yes. And I like doing that. So we'll do that in the next screen here. So once we make sure that our ringer is on for this exercise, I know we're probably gonna make a lot of noise. That's all right. So now here's what we're gonna do in the set ringer volume. So we're gonna go into settings, and then we're gonna scroll down to the area where it says sounds and haptics. Haptics are that vibration thing, all right? So once we get into sounds and haptics, we can set our volume here. Here is the one I recommend leaving off, all right? Change with buttons. A lot of times when this is on, we think we're using the buttons to adjust the volume on the phone. We're not on, let's say we're not on a phone call. The phone is just with us and we're scrolling through it, right? If we press those buttons, it'll change the volume of the ringer if that is on, okay? I like having the volume of the ringer independent of the buttons. I want the buttons only affecting what I'm hearing now, okay?
What do you mean by buttons?
The side volume buttons, okay? So by leaving that off, then it does not allow the side buttons to adjust the ringer volume.
I don't have sounds and whatever that.
Sounds and haptics.
I don't have that. I have voice control.
Let's see, it should be toward the top here. Let's see. Oh, you're in accessibility.
Oh,
So now let's find sounds and haptics. There it is. Yep.
So if that's off and you're pressing on these side buttons, they don't do anything?
Correct. They will not change the ringer volume. It'll still do like your talk volume, right? So all that, yeah, it'll just make the ringer volume independent of that. Okay, so you cannot change your ringer volume accidentally. All right. And then I change my haptics so they always play. And what are the haptics again? They're the little vibration things or the little clicks you feel when you touch things on the screen. I want my phone, when it rings, I want it to do the ring, the haptics, and I want it to flash LED at me. I'll show you how to do that in a moment.
So instead of playing silent mode, put it on always play?
Yes. Because even if I can hear it, sometimes when it's in my pocket, I can't hear it because I wear, it's on my side here, so I can't, and I can't necessarily feel it, unless it's closer to me. But by having them both, I got a much better, what do you call it, average of either hearing it or feeling it, or both. Okay.
Veda,
Yes.
can you turn off the sound so that it doesn't do notifications?
Okay,
Or
that's
text.
different. So if you go in here, these are all the things you can choose. And you can actually select like a silent thing for some of these events. Diana, you can actually go, instead of selecting a ringtone or a tone, you can actually select silent. And so if that event happens, then you won't ever hear it.
I have text tone and it says tritone. How do I get rid of it?
So click text tone and then go up and scroll to the top section of all the tones and select silent.
Oh, I see. I see none.
Oh, there's a none. Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. So that way, when you get a text, you'll never get a tone.
Getting too many political texts.
Play Haptics in silent mode.
I turn it to always, okay? Because it'll still work fine. But every time you receive a call, you'll both hear the ring in your hearing aid and the phone will vibrate. Okay. Yeah, I actually prefer it because it's just a more reassuring thing as far as being able to make sure I know somebody's trying to get a hold of me. All right. And there's one other thing that we can add to this. And I'm kind of 50-50 on this one. If I'm in some areas where I am, like I do a lot of audio stuff, help churches and things, and I'm trying to set up some stuff. I can't necessarily feel my phone or hear it because I'm in a noisy area, but it'll flash, okay? And so that's the next one. I'm sorry, Liz, did you have a question before I do that?
Yeah, sorry. On the setting the tone to none, can you still customize it within your contacts so that if there's certain people you want to make sure to hear that they have a
Yes.
tone? Okay, so you can
Yes.
override that.
That's correct. If you have it set manually in the contact, it will override this setting.
Okay, and then there's a lock sound someplace within the settings under sounds and haptics.
Yes, and that's just the sound it makes when you lock the screen.
Oh, I see. Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. And you lock the screen by pressing the power button and releasing it. Just click and you're in the lock screen. That's okay, everybody. I knew we were gonna make noise. That's fine. Okay. So the other alert that we can give ourselves if our if our phone rings, we can also make it flash the LED, the one that we can use like a flashlight on the back. We can also make that flash. All right. So the way we get into that is again, go into settings, scroll down to accessibility. And then we're going to go down and we're going to look for audio visual. Once we get to the audio visual screen, scroll down to the part to LED flash for alerts. And then once we get into that, just turn all three of these on. You can get it for alerts. You can do it you can tell it to do it while the phone is unlocked. And you can do it in silent mode. Okay.
Could you go through that? I'm not with you, so
Okay.
I can't figure.
So the goal of this one is to make it so that when we receive a call, right, or we receive a text, whatever, the alert gives us a tone, it makes a sound, it vibrates with the haptics, and it's going to flash the light on the back. Okay.
I just don't know how to get to it.
Okay, so we're going to go into settings,
Right.
then accessibility. Then in accessibility, scroll down to audio visual.
Audio description.
It should be audio visual. I'm sorry, I'm on the latest iOS on this one.
Okay, I got it.
Okay. And once we're in audio visual, go down to LED flash for alerts. And then we want to turn that on. We're going to click that and we're going to turn on the LED flash for alerts on. And then we're going to enable it for when the phone's locked and when the phone is in silent mode.
How much to flash it? I mean, does it keep flashing or just one?
It'll burst just like with the haptics. It'll do a flash, flash, flash.
And then that's it.
And that's it. And it'll keep doing as long as it's ringing. So if you answer it, it stops. All right. But if the phone's ringing, it'll do that.
This is kind of handy if you're with other people, they see your phone flashing.
Oh, it's
They'll tell you.
and if we're hard of hearing, if we're hard of hearing, a lot of times we don't, we can't hear our phone, and it might not be in our person, but we can see it flashing.
It will flash in a public environment. And you don't want it like
Yes.
in a theater or something.
So that one, if I'm hard of hearing, and I'll have it in my pocket. So yes, it could flash and might be a little bit disruptive from my pocket, but it's not that bad because my clothing blocks it. If you're really concerned about that, then the last one down on the bottom in silent mode, turn that one off, because that means if you turn off your ringer, you're not going to flash either. Okay.
But will it also flash?
I'm sorry, what was that, Barbara?
Do not disturb, it's not gonna flash.
I don't know that. Okay. So the question was, if it's in do not disturb, will the flash also stop? I don't know. I haven't played with that one yet. Let me take a couple notes here, because I got a couple things I got to go experiment with now.
Will it flash for notifications and things like that also?
Yes.
Oh, I don't know.
So anytime we want to make anytime there's an alert, it'll flash. Okay, oops, we're running close on time here. I knew this was going to take a while to go through all these, so that's all right.
So are notifications considered alerts?
Yes, but the alert would typically be done with a tone. Okay, so all those things, those alert types that were when you were setting the different tones in the sounds and haptics, those are the type of events. Okay. Okay, this will be the last one. Disable wallet and accessories when locked. So we're just going to scroll into our settings, come down here to our Face ID and passcode. Then in the next screen is going to ask you for your passcode or your Face ID. And then once we get into the Face ID and passcode settings, scroll down until we see these things for wallet and accessories in the lock screen. The reason why I turn these off, if I have my phone locked, I really don't want it showing wallet options. I don't want it showing or any accessories to be able to attach to my phone while it's locked. I think that's an unsafe situation. So I turn those two off.
And I pay which else?
Wallet and accessories. Okay, so I recommend turning those two things off when the phone is locked. I only want those things working. So it's when somebody's using my phone, like when we're out setting up audio stuff, they sound like, well, that's weird. Your phone didn't recognize when I plugged this in. I'm like, yeah, it needs to be unlocked, you know? So I have to unlock my phone. And
So all four of those should be off or?
no, just those two. Everything else leave green, but those two, wallet and accessories, turn off.
I have Wallet and Apple Pay together.
Yeah, that's you're on an older version of the software than me. That's
But
all.
you turn that
Yeah,
off.
turn that off.
So how do you get to the fourth screen?
If you go, just scroll down while you're in the Face ID and passcode. Scroll down until you get to that area.
To
You know, slide the screen up.
And I don't have accessories, so is other apps the same thing?
Accessories, other apps. I don't think so. No, accessories are things I plug into my phone. So like when I plug in microphones and things like that in my phone, I don't want anything working when my phone's locked. Liz, you have a question?
It says, okay, when I go to turn it off on the wallet, it says if you turn it off, you will not be able to access certain cards and passes that require Face ID to use. Does that mean we need to turn it back on? order
No,
to
that's
use that?
odd. Are you, which section are you in on the Face ID and passcodes? Let me check.
I have that little face there that you have there, and then
Let me check
wallet
this. Hold
and
on, that
Apple.
doesn't,
It's
let me check this.
okay.
That says if you turn this off, you will not be able to access certain cards and passes in Wallet that require Face ID to use.
Okay, that's odd. That's not what.
So we have an older version and that's what it says, wallet and Apple Pay.
Okay, hold on. So if you're at the very top and it says wallet and Apple Pay, you're in the wrong section. That's the use Face ID for, okay? You have to scroll down until you get into the allow access when locked section. So that's why we're having some confusion.
Yes.
I should have kept that little heading there on the screenshot. Sorry.
But it's down to what? Alternate appearance?
So it'll say up just above these things here above the control center notification, it'll say allow access when locked. Okay, scroll down to that area. No, allow access when locked.
Yeah.
So if we look, mine goes in these sections, use Face ID for, then it says attention, and then it says allow access when locked. Okay,
I don't see that. I'm sorry. I don't see that allow access when locked, but
Oh,
I guess I need to explore this further.
okay.
Um,
Up
And
at
these
the
are,
top.
so these are the two I want turned off, wallet and accessories in this area. The one at the top, you know, at the very top,
I need to-
iPhone unlock, wallet and Apple Pay, those should all be on, okay?
Mine were already. I'm all gone.
Okay, good.
My son set it up, so I guess he knew.
Yeah, because I don't want those things accessible unless my phone's unlocked. All right, yes.
I'm, s-
Two,
I-
I need to go.
okay,
Two.
2 o'clock. Actually, I have a 2. Yeah, I got a 2 and a 2:30. Just a moment.
Okay.
Dang it. And let's see here. I do have 3 open.
Can't do 3.
No. I've got a 4 o'clock with Anik already. So just come around 4 and let's see if we can fit it in. Okay.
Thanks.
Beta, what is, return, you have that on, return missed calls, what does that mean?
Oh. So while the screen's locked, you get notifications of the phone calls you missed. You can just click those and return the call. Okay.
Yeah, even to Face ID and passcodes, I have Touch ID and passcode.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's correct. So if you don't have Face ID, if you have a push button phone, it'll say Touch ID and passcode.
Okay, and then I put that in,
Okay. And
and
so now you're in this area. So now we got to scroll down to allow access when locked. And we want to turn off accessories and wallet. You already have them all.
thank you.
Okay.
What do you do? How do you get into where you make the font bigger or smaller? What do you?
Okay, that's back in accessories.
Accessories, okay.
I'm sorry, accessibility. Yeah,
Oh.
I'll get that right. So here it is, go into settings,
Right.
then accessibility,
Right.
then display and text size,
Right.
and then larger size or larger text.
Right.
And once we're there, turn on the larger accessibility sizes. Okay. All right. Sorry we ran out of time. There were a couple more screens, but thanks for hanging in there with me, folks. All right.
What?
So we'll see you tomorrow. Cheers.
Do you have to be a member signed up to get to those videos?
Yes. And since you're here at Eschaton, it's already paid for. So
But do we have an ID number to get into it?
I'll show you that right now if you got a moment.